Hi everyone, I'm Tammy Gray and I'll be your instructor for your professional Capstone project. I've put this presentation together in order to help you get through the next 5 weeks. I know this can be stressful, so hopefully this presentation will help you. I get 15 minutes, so I may be talking a little bit fast, but bear with me because I would really like to get through all this material. I think the more you get, the better we'll be. So again, if I talk fast, bear with me. So what is the Capstone project? Your Capstone project is going to be your written proposal for a nurse-focused project that centers on the resolution of an issue or a problem significant to nursing practice. So what do I mean when I say nurse-focused? What I need you to think about when we say nurse-focused is how can you as a nurse improve the care you give to your patients, or how can you as a nurse improve processes or procedures in your organization? I want you to think about what you see around you and what area of nursing are you passionate about, or even what clinical problems do you see that may need to be addressed. Use all this information to come up with a central idea for your Capstone project. It needs to be something that you really care about and passionate about, or really see a deep need in your organization for. What your nursing Capstone project should not be is it should not involve independent or patient research. Again, we don't want to cross that patient research line, because then we get into IRB boards and special permissions, etc., etc. So make sure that your project does not involve patient research. Now, it can involve patients in the sense of education or things like that, but not anything that involves actual medical research on patients. And again, what it should not involve is implementing an already existing processes. I really want you guys to kind of think outside the box here. Don't give me a project based on something that's already been around in your organization forever. Like, I get several students that do the hand washing project every year. Think originality here. Come up with something that you're passionate about. This project will go a lot easier and much better if you do something that you're really focused on, and because I really want you to be able to take something away from this class. So don't give me a project that's already based on an existing processes already in place. Okay, the steps of your project. Week 1 through 4 basically accumulate into the final week 5 project. So in week 1, we're going to identify the problem or your proposal. We're going to identify and propose your solution. And we're also going to select all the sources of your literature for your project. So week 1 is a busy week. Week 2, we're going to incorporate a change your nursing theory, and we'll talk a little bit more about this when I get to the week 2 slide. And we're also going to review your literature. In week 3, we're going to develop and describe your implementation plan for your solution. In week 4, we're going to develop and describe your evaluation plan, and we're also going to develop and describe how you're going to disseminate the results of your evaluation. So week 1, again, we talked a little bit about coming up with a nurse-focused project. Well, I can't give you ideas for your project. Again, I really want you to focus on something that you're passionate about, something that you really care about, or something that you see as a gap in your current nursing practice in your organization. So we're going to identify that problem, and we're going to come up with a solution or an intervention. We're going to write your picket, and we're going to develop your question. There's a lot of reading and material this week on picket. So you'll learn a lot about that. And also in week 1, we're going to select your 15 literature sources. I want you to refer to the week 1 posted announcement that concerns of developing your picket and your question. And I know that your literature search will take lots of time, but remember that even though it's time-consuming and tedious, it's necessary. This is going to form the very foundation of your project. You can use the sample format for a review of literature that's located in week 2 as a way to format your week 1 literature paper and just answer those questions for week 1. Don't overcomplicate your project. Again, choose something that you enjoy. This class will go a lot easier for you if you do so. I've listed some resources here for week 1. I'll do that for each weeks as we go through it. But I want you to use every week has a checklist. I want you to use that checklist. Go by that, kind of like your Bible, as to make sure that you meet all the assignment requirements. The best way to do that is just begin your paper by writing down the assignment requirements that are located on the weekly checklist, and then fill your paper in based on those requirements. That way you make sure you meet all the assignment requirements. If we miss one assignment requirement and those points make up half your grade, basically you'll fail that assignment. So make sure that you go by those weekly checklists to meet all the assignment requirements. I want to talk a little bit about your solution or your intervention to your problem. Your solution or interventions can be administrative in nature, meaning developing or writing a policy or protocol that's evidence-based. They can be educational in nature, meaning developing an educational program for patients or staff. They can be leadership-based, developing a new program or procedure within your organization, or even implementing new positions in your facility, or they can be a combination of all of these. So focus on these types of interventions for your project. In week 2, we're going to research and review literature on your project topic. Again, use that sample format for review of literature as a guide to writing it. That's located in week 2. Your paper needs to follow that format. And although you're writing on each of the articles, a reference page must be included with your assignment. All APA papers require a reference page. I know a lot of times this can be confusing because you're actually doing each article and listing it, but you also need to include a reference page in that. And the big issue with week 2, this is where most of my students get confused. Your change theory is not your suggested solution. It is a nursing or change theory. And by that we mean a nursing or change theory. A change theory such as Kurt Lewin's theory of change, or a nursing theory such as Dorothy Orum's nursing care theory. It, again, is not your solution. It is a nursing or change theory. So make sure that you understand that. Again, if you use your week 2 checklist and go by those assignment requirements, you'll make sure to cover that. But again, a lot of students get confused on week 2. If you have questions, feel free to ask anytime. Week 3, this is where we're going to develop our implementation plan based on our solutions that I went over on that earlier slide. Some helpful hints. We know that implement means to put into action. This is how you'll tell me step by step your process for making the changes. Your implementation plan needs to describe detail, the who, what, when, and where of how you will put your proposed solution into action. What are your interventions? And I'll just emphasize, there cannot be enough detail in describing your plan. The more detail, the better. Your plan needs to be specific. I always say this project needs to be SMART, S-M-A-R-T, meaning S, specific, M, measurable, A, obtainable, R, realistic, and T, timely. So make sure your project addresses that SMART acronym. And again, use your week 3 checklist. Use those assignment requirements as the heading in your paper to make sure you meet all those requirements. Week 4, we're going to develop your evaluation plan. We're also going to describe your dissemination plans. Your evaluation plan, again, must be specific. Include the who, what, when, and where of how you will evaluate your solution and its implementation. So again, I want you to be very specific. I don't want simple statements or generalized statements made. You need to be specific about your evaluation plan. If you're going to evaluate using a test, show me that test, attach it as an appendix. Be very specific. Don't just make general statements. Your dissemination plan, there's also some confusion that occurs about your dissemination plan as well. So I'll clarify. To disseminate means to spread. So you'll need to develop and describe a plan to get your results out to not only your facility, but the greater nursing community. And by greater nursing community, we mean outside your organization. How you will get your results out to nurses regionally or even nationally. And this needs to be realistic as well. So you can't just say, I'm going to write an article and put it in a journal. We know the process for doing that. So you need to describe that process to me if that's what you plan on doing. And again, disseminate disseminating your plans, your evaluation plans. This means, I keep saying plans, excuse me, disseminating the results of your evaluation plan. This is where the confusion occurs. A lot of time students will write how they're disseminating their plans out, but what we're doing is we're disseminating the evaluation results out. So we've evaluated our implementation and our interventions, and now we're going to disseminate those results. So make sure we're focusing on the disseminating plans, which are the results of our evaluation. Hopefully that's not confusing, but if it is, again, make sure that you ask questions. But we want to disseminate the results of our evaluation, not disseminate our plan. Again, use those week 4 checklist assignment requirements, and that will make sure that we cover all those requirements. Week 5, this is where we incorporate all the topics of week 1 to 4 into one final paper. Some helpful hints for this. I want you to incorporate all my comments of the grading of week 1 through 4 papers. I'll give you comments and suggestions as we go along, and take those, incorporate those into your paper. I want you to reread and reread all of your papers and add additional details and insight. A lot of times we'll read something and we may put it aside for a couple of days and reread it, and we'll see a lot of things we missed, or even think of things that we need to add. I want you to be sure to use prior learning and some real life experiences as a way to get this insight into your paper. And your week 5 rubric grades by degree of detail and insight. So the more detail and thoughtful reflection, the better your grade will be. Use that week 5 rubric as a way to put your paper together, and also the evidence-based practice example that's located in week 5. There's also some Capstone project writing guidelines to follow as well. So all these are great resources for putting that final project together. Some helpful hints. I want you to make the words "be specific" your mantra for this course. Again, I've said it over and over as I went through these slides. Be specific. You cannot give me too many specific, insightful details. The more, the better. Again, you cannot add too much detail in your papers. The more detail, the better your grade will be. And don't worry about going over those required word counts. I need you to make sure that you meet the minimum word counts, but you can go over as much as you need to. APA is essential for all your papers. You guys are getting ready to graduate with your bachelor degree. At this point, you should be very familiar with APA, but if not, I've posted that crash course at the beginning. Students always make the same mistakes over and over, and in that paper, I've actually noted those mistakes and showed you how to correct them. So very easy to avoid the mistakes. If you print that crash course out and refer to it, you'll avoid a lot of those APA mistakes. You will need APA when you graduate. It's very important to know this, because you're going to be putting presentations and papers together, and you need to know what you're doing when you do these. Read every weekly checklist. These are the requirements for that week, and it is used to grade your papers. Use the requirements for headings in your papers. This ensures you meet all the requirements. And headings are critical for your papers. These are not to be confused with the running heads at the top of your paper. The headings serve as a way to effectively organize your paper, in addition to making sure that you meet all those requirements. It helps your paper look professional and organized. Begin your paper by writing the assignment requirements as headings, then write in each section. That way you know you've covered it. Headings are bolded and centered, and I want you to review the use of those APA headings. All APA papers include an introduction and conclusion. If you're not familiar with what these are, review those in the Student Success Center. Grammar is just as important. Use that spelling and grammar check in Microsoft Word. Very easy tool. Make sure you use it. And again, don't overthink your project. We get so stressed, they overthink it and overcomplicate it. Pick something you will enjoy, and get help if you need it. Appears a great resource to review your work before turning it in. And read all those resources I gave you. They will help you. And I hope that I didn't talk too fast in this presentation, and it serves to help you. Good luck as you guys go forward. And again, ask questions. And remember that all my comments and suggestions are meant to help you. And good luck, guys.